Okay, so I've got Hilary in with me from Lifelong Products, and I think before we start going and talking about products, we should know a little bit about Hilary and how she got into natural health. So good morning, Hilary.
Good morning, Lou.
You all right?
Yes,
Let's
I'm
put
fine.
that bit forward.
It's a beautiful day here in Dartington.
It is gorgeous. Okay, so your story. You didn't just have this passion for natural health all your life. There was reasons and health implications how you got into natural health and totally empowering yourself. So let's give the listeners a little bit about you, and then we can start talking about the products.
Yeah, I got involved in health and nutrition quite late in life, actually. I've always been interested in sort of looking after myself and eating quite healthily, and I looked at sort of supplementation, etc. But most of what I've learned is through research and trialling out stuff myself, etc. One of the things that I've found is I've had lots of back problems through serious illness as a child, and I found that eating sensibly and various supplements have helped with that. And about sort of 18 years ago, I got involved with a company that sold aloe vera mainly and other products, and I sort of sold for them and got very interested in it. And just by chance, a couple of colleagues introduced me to a couple of different products, and they were so good and I was so enthused with it that I thought, well, why not do this myself?
Yeah.
And I started my own company up, and over the years it's sort of expanded and very nicely, thank you.
So what was? Do you mind talking about what the childhood illness was and the trouble it caused you?
Yeah, it's quite amazing, really, that I've sort of recovered from it. Before I was a year old, it was discovered that I'd got tuberculosis of the spine, which is quite serious, and TB was quite sort of serious in those days, and I was put into a sort of hospital for about 4 years, flat on my back. Actually, I always sort of assumed it was a hospital, but later on, when chatting to my mother on the advice of a therapist who said I should sort of, talk about what happened to me, not just shut it off. And she said, oh no, it wasn't a hospital, it was a home for children. Apparently it was called the Peabody Home for Crippled Children. I mean, how unpolitically correct is that? But and their only real treatment, I think, was they thought that cold would help, and the windows and doors were always left open. This was Coventry, so it was freezing cold, and snow would come in under the bed, and I was flat on my back on a rack. I mean, goodness knows how they thought that would work, but obviously it did. And obviously I had other treatment as well. But I was there for about 4 years, and then when I left, in fact, the prognosis was that I probably wouldn't live till I was 3, but obviously I did. Then when I left the hospital, I had to learn to walk properly, and I wore a brace and surgical boots, etc. But I did recover quite well, or seemed to recover quite well. And then when I was about 7 or 8, I suddenly grew very tall. I was very tiny when I was younger. My nickname was Topsy and Poppet, I was that tiny.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly grew very tall when I was about 7 or 8. I don't suppose I'm that tall, in this day and age. But
you are compared to me.
Everybody's tall compared to you.
Thanks.
But, I'm 5'10", so in those days it was quite tall. Well, what happened was, because the base of my spine, was damaged through the tuberculosis, it had left scarring, and it had eaten away part of the vertebrae, so there was sort of kind of gap there, so that would always be a problem. The top of my spine couldn't cope with growing tall, so what happened was I got scoliosis, which is the curvature of the spine, which can have quite serious repercussions, because what happens is, if you imagine your spine is slightly... I saw the x-ray when I was about 10, when it was discovered, and my spine looked like a right turn sign. What happens is you obviously start to compensate for this, and that's how it was noticed. I was collecting a prize at Sunday school, actually, from the church, which is very long aisle, and my mother and I were late, so we were right at the back. And as I was walking to collect this prize, Marigold Becomes a Brownie, I still have the book, my mother noticed that I was sort of kind of limping, and one shoulder was going down. And of course it was reported to the hospital, and that's when they realised. And what happens is, obviously, I knew a girl that went to the same school as me who had it, and her mother wouldn't let her have the treatment because it was not very nice, and she ended up with the hump front and the hump back. And obviously it's quite a serious illness. So I was put into like what's called a Milwaukee brace, which is a corrective brace, which sort of holds you in place.
Yeah.
It's like a girdle with a bar in the front and a bar at the back, with like a clamp around your chin.
Gosh, sounds
And
horrendous.
at the back it was, and then you have two bars that come out at the sides with wing nuts. So in fact it's like a cage. What it does is it holds you upright and straight so that you can't turn left or right. It was quite amusing at school, as you can imagine. So, but
It
I
must
was
have been horrendous.
yeah, you had to sleep
amusing.
in it as well. And I wore that solid for about 4.5 years. It was very difficult in the beginning. I couldn't eat properly because I couldn't open my mouth properly because it was clamped. But you know, I was a kid, and children are very resilient, and children do
But
adapt.
and what about the people, you know, like your school pupils? Because kids can also be very cruel. Did you have a lot of...
Well, I learned a defence mechanism, become a clown. I became very jokey and took the mick out of myself and was one of the gang, if you like.
Right.
And I think that was my saving grace. I wasn't this pathetic, snivelling child in the corner who was ill. I wouldn't do that. And I put that down to a lot. My mum, she was a very strong woman, and she brought us up on her own. And she made me very strong. And she didn't, like, when I was a kid, if you had a sickly child in the neighbourhood, you know, you'd dress it in Angora cardigans and feed it, you know, mushy food. No way. My mum made me feel, oh, come on, there's always someone worse off than you. I mean, I knew when I got older that it broke her heart, but, you know, she toughened me up. And so I survived, like you do, and she got me into a mainstream school, which I'm very glad, you know, I'm very pleased, because I didn't like the school I was in, obviously, because there were a lot of, you know, mentally and physically handicapped children there, and it was very difficult for me because I was as bright as a button and just had this brace on, you know, that's how I felt. I didn't feel like I was abnormal because I'd never known any different. And then when I was 15, I was allowed to take the brace off, obviously, and they told me at the hospital that they had done as best they could for me, and it was very successful. I was quite lucky, really, because in later years they would have given you surgery, and maybe inserted a rod, which obviously gives a lot of rigidity, and you know, you don't have so much freedom in movement. I mean, you'd never really know to look at me I'd had this, would you?
No,
you know,
not at all.
No, I'm very, very lucky. But I was told, the prognosis was that it's very unlikely that I would be able to work. I'd never stand the strain of having children, and so on, all negatives and negatives. Just for the record, I work harder than most people, you know, what I have done in the past. You know, I'm trying to wind down a little bit now.
Do you mind saying how old you are, Hilary?
I'm 65.
65, okay.
Yeah. Go on, that's a prompt for you to say you look 55.
You know you do anyway. I don't need to say that. Okay, so...
Yeah. And
so
but I had children.
Yeah.
I've got two whacking great sons. One's nearly 6'6" and is huge, and the other one is just a bit shorter. So, you know, you don't always have to listen to what is said to you. I think a lot of it is, you know, positive attitude. But naturally, going through something like that, you don't come out unscathed. And I would have periods where I would have terrible sciatica. I would get terrible back pain because I'm afraid I always sort of get out there and grab life and, you know, get on with it. And I seemed to sort of compensate as I went on for what I missed as a child. And there's a lot of things I couldn't do, like riding a bike, swimming, climbing. And I've tried to do a lot of that as I've gone on. I still can't master riding a bike, but I've done everything else. Yeah. And I, you know, you do compensate for it. But because of this, I did suffer with terrible back pain at various periods. And at one point, I was actually reduced to a wheelchair for about 3 months. I had really bad sciatica, and my back went really, really bad.
So were you prescribed like heavy painkillers, like pharmaceutical painkillers?
Yeah, all the doctors would ever say was, well, this is what you can expect. You're lucky to be like you are. And they would just give me Coproxim or something like this, you know, just strong painkillers, which in very short terms can often help. If you're in extremely bad pain and you're not sleeping, you're not helping yourself. So maybe that's the only time I would take them is at night, so that at least I could get some sleep. And I really tried to resist it whenever I could because of the horrendous side effects with them. Right.
So then you got into doing aloe vera, and you started looking into other products. Did you find any natural health products that would help the pain in your back? Was there anything specific that could help?
More or less by accident, really. I was, you know, had lifelong products, and I was selling an array of products, and then somebody recommended a product. I met them at Quest, you know, which is kind of like a health fair, and recommended this product called Serapeptase. That's one of the things you've got to learn, Lou. If you're
Serapeptase, and there's another anastaxin, which we're going to come on to, and I can't pronounce that.
If you're dealing with natural health products, first of all, you have to learn how to pronounce them. That's
I know.
the most difficult part. Yeah. So, this product was introduced to me, and I started to take it. And I really kind of forgot about it. I just sort of took it along with my other supplements, and it was only about sort of 8 months later or something like this that one of my family members sort of remarked that I seemed to be not mentioning my back anymore and my health, and it suddenly dawned on me that my back didn't hurt anymore, although I'd got it under control. If I didn't overdo things, didn't lift, sort of stuff that I knew would hurt my back, I was okay. But I lived constantly with back pain. You do kind of get used to it after a while, but it's not a very good companion, as anybody who suffers from chronic pain for any length of time will be able to tell you. And when I finished work of an evening, the pain would be so bad because I'd been hunched over the computer or typewriter or whatever, and then I'd go down to the kitchen to cook a meal, and I couldn't talk to anybody, because the pain, and then it would ease as I sat with a cushion in my back and relaxed. It would slightly ease, and then after I'd been in bed for a while, it would ease. But then as the day would come on, it would carry on. And if I was travelling or doing anything out of the ordinary, putting strain on my back, the pain was awful. And I realised that after taking serapeptase for so long, I just was not, getting this pain anymore. And it's touch wood. That's how I've gone. But through sort of looking after my health and eating well and slight exercise, positive attitude, just, a good supplementation, I touch wood, you'd hardly know. I had a back problem now, which is amazing.
Just for listeners out there, I know we've got one listener, Lillian, she's probably listening now. She's been struggling. She was on mountains of medication, told she'd never walk again. And I put her in touch with Clive DeCarle, who talks about many, many products. But the reason we're having you on here, because there are other products that Clive, doesn't go into in such depth. And I think this is really valuable, this information that you're giving. So people out, as I say, Lillian, she was told she couldn't walk again. She's now out. But she had trouble. She'd got rid of all her main medication. But she was still having to wear a patch. Now, she's been off the patch for about a week now. I check in with her every day. Yeah. But I know she's concerned because she's coming away with me. We're going to a yoga retreat in about 3 weeks, and she's worried about the pain and the travelling. So would you, because, and it is sheer pain on her back specifically because I think she had double hip operation. So would you recommend these serapeptase for Lillian? And how do you spell it as well if people are going onto the lifelongproducts.com website and want to have a look for it?
Right, it's SERRAPEPTASE, serapeptase. It's the actual Latin name is Serratia peptidase. That's even worse.
I'm not even going to trying
That's the trade name, serapeptase.
Okay.
Yeah. With anything, with most natural health products, it isn't like an antibiotic or a painkiller where you take it and it works immediately. It has to work in your system. So, usually it does take, some people, it'll take as long as, say, 3 months to notice a difference with a natural health product. Other people, it'll be 2 months. But some people, it can even be within a few weeks. Yeah. And I think a lot of that depends on the person, positive attitude, etc.
Exactly.
But also, if you've got a lot of toxins in your body, then the natural product you're taking will have to break down the toxins. And for instance, I had a girl who worked with me, and she was quite health conscious, and she'd take lots of supplements because working with me, she realised what there was available. Yeah. And her sister sort of saw the difference in her and the problems it had helped, and she said, I'll buy some of these, and was amazed that they didn't work in a fortnight because she smoked heavily, drank and ate terrible food. So it
really makes a difference, doesn't it? You have to, it's not just one thing you change, you've got to have the right attitude and completely change literally everything. It's just not one segment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play a song now, and we will come back in a minute, and we're going to go through some other products and take things a bit further with Hilary. If the music's going to start.
Bury my ghost, stop my glory days, infiltrate my heart and take the pain away. Take me time to see through your eyes. Oh, I'm not scared, my words are not lies. Powerless for your love, powerless for your love. I need to be strong, but you made me weak. I won't do you wrong, 'cause these feelings run deep. Where do we belong? I know we search to find, 'cause I'm powerless for your love. I think I'm losing my mind. And after it all, would you still stand up and fight? When you're hidden in darkness, would you run towards the light? Even though I'm alone, I can feel you here with me. I try to block you out, but you're all I see. Powerless for your love, powerless for your love. I need to be strong, but you made me weak. I won't do you wrong, 'cause these feelings run deep. Where do we belong? I know we search to find, 'cause I'm powerless for your love. I think I'm losing my mind. Tell me this time you won't let me go. With you by my side, I don't feel alone. I've let go of my pride. Now I can call you my own. Need to be strong, but you made me weak. I won't do you wrong, 'cause these feelings run deep. Where do we belong? I know we search to find. I'm powerless for your love. I think I'm losing my mind.
That was a lush Becky Hill with Rudimental. Okay, so I'm here with Hilary Roach from lifelongproducts.com, and we've just been having a little chat about serapeptase and how it helped Hilary with severe back pain. So any more can you recommend with serapeptase? What else can it be used for, not just specifically the back pain? And what is it exactly?
Serapeptase is an enzyme, and it was quite amazing how they found out how effective it would work, because it's used from the silkworm. Apparently, there's some saliva that they secrete helps to break open the cocoon that they're in, and it's quite hard to do this. Plus, as you may know, silkworms live on mulberry leaves, which are also very hard to chew and digest, and they found out that this saliva actually broke down the tissue so that they could eat the mulberry leaves and break free from the cocoon. So this was then developed and used into breaking down scar tissue, which causes a lot of problems with people, and a lot of pain is due to scar tissue, which can be in all types and forms. But obviously now, don't worry, no silkworms have been killed to make this serapeptase now. They obviously use it manufactured. But it is a wonderful natural way of dealing with pain. But it also has quite a few other benefits. It also works with any bronchial problems, like asthmatic problems, stuff like this.
Oh, so that could help me.
Yeah, it's very good for any sort of mucus, any sort of, asthmatic problems. Also very good with varicose veins. And funny enough, when you stock a product, when you have regular customers, you get stories from them. And I've actually had various sort of stories of other sort of remote things that it's helped with. One of our customers, she was taking it regularly for pain relief, and unfortunately got lost in the post, good old Royal Mail. And by the time we got, realised that it got lost and we sent out another one, she was without it for a week or so. And her IBS came back, irritable bowel syndrome. And she hadn't realised why it was in check. She just thought it was a fluke, that it, just hadn't had any problems with it for months on end.
Yeah.
And it was such a coincidence. And as soon as she started taking the serapeptase, it was okay again.
It's incredible.
I know. Another guy said it helped with his hay fever. So it's very good.
I mean, that's one thing that you guys at Lifelong Products do. You do have this personal care touch when people can phone you up and you can offer advice about the products and and the aftercare as well. I mean, you do a monthly newsletter, don't you?
I mean, I'm amazed that people with a serious health issue will just go online and randomly order products from a company without having any background. I mean, I can understand why, because we're in an instant world where you press a button and something happens. But really, when you think about it, it is your health, it's your body. You should really be, sort of talk to somebody about it and make sure that you're taking the right products for the right ailment, because often there is one that will maybe help, but there's one that may be slightly better. And it's quite a good idea, I think, to sort of get advice on how to actually administer the product or take it, and how
and when the
to
best
use
time of
it.
day
this
is,
sort of thing.
yeah.
It's a bit of a minefield, actually, with nutrition. But I mean, obviously, not everybody needs that. They maybe have done their own research and they just want to order a product. That's fine. I will not force myself on someone, in my opinion. But if people do want advice, we're there to help. And as you say rightly, Lou, we do give very good aftercare. Because sometimes people may think it's a minor problem, but if it's a worry to you and you're not quite sure, then that's important. You should ring up and have your mind put at rest. I think that's what it does, really. You don't get any of these ridiculously pressing buttons and getting put through and getting cut off and then getting to speak to someone who knows nothing about anything.
No, because you're doing it. There's just you and
my staff,
and your
who
staff,
are all, very, very trained and into natural health as well. So. Yeah, but going back to serapeptase, see, one of the important things about pain relief is, as I said, pain is a very poor companion.
Yeah.
And obviously you want to do anything to alleviate it. But the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, we call them NSAIDs, have some terrible side effects. Amongst them are skin rashes, constipation. I'm sorry, I can reiterate with that one. Nausea, blood disorders, ulcers, damage to the stomach lining, I think, is one that most people will know about. Blurred eyesight, kidney problems, headaches, and so on. And it can also disturb sleep patterns, which is quite important because often older people have problems with sleeping and they're often in pain as well through, so that's important to sort of try and take something that's much more natural and will help.
Yeah, and you were talking about, I mean, there are a lot of pain relief machines going on. There's a Steinar machine, you have the TENS machine. Clive swears by the Steinar special pain machine with, his name escapes me now, he did a Health Revolution show, but you've discovered another pain relief machine
talking
as well.
About pain, funnily enough, I got it through one of my good customers from Australia, and she's a regular customer for many years, and she contacted me and said that she suffers from pain herself. She's got frozen shoulder and back problems, and her mother's in a wheelchair. So she'd done some research, and she was quite keen to try this product, but wanted to buy it from someone that she trusted, like our company, because of the aftercare, etc. So I did some research and got in touch with the company. I was very impressed with the research I did on it and the company itself, which is very important to me. I only buy from companies where I know and trust them, and that I think is important. I was totally amazed with this product. It sounded extremely good, so I purchased some and I sold one to this customer, and honestly, Lou, the results she's had with it are amazing.
So what's this called?
It's called Pain Solve.
Okay.
She, right away, it more or less got rid of the frozen shoulder. It's helped with her back pain. Her mother said she's 50% better with her pain and discomfort being in a wheelchair. But one of the other things it does is it does help with wound healing as well. It's you use it on a wound either through the dressing or directly onto the skin. And her husband, who's a sheep farmer, they have a big sheep farm out in Australia, put a fork right through his foot. And apparently it was a very serious injury. And at the hospital he was being treated with dressings, etc., twice a day. So when they read that it would help with wounds, that the wife said, "Oh, would you mind trying this?" He said, "No, anything would help." And they used it extensively, and at the hospital remarked that they'd never seen a wound heal up so quickly.
So how does this machine work? Or can you just describe it, and so people can get just like a little image of?
Well, it's not terribly big. I suppose it's about 6-8 inches long.
Okay.
And you just literally hold the pulse. All the directions are with it. You just hold the pulse onto where the pain is. And because it's totally invasive, you can use it as often as you like with any problem, elderly people, and it will help. And as I say, also it works on wounds. But it's relatively new. We've only just started to promote this product. So I need to do a lot more research on it, and we will be promoting it extensively in our latest newsletter, etc., because I'm very excited about this product.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But another good product for pain relief, particularly joint pain, is the trade name is Bioastin. It's from Hawaii, but this is the one you were struggling with.
And that's
no. Astaxanthin. I told you.
Why do I put more letters in it? I can't still can't.
Astaxanthin. It's because it's spelt with an X, but you pronounce it as a Z or Z. So that's the problem.
Okay.
And that is a sea algae that's grown off the Kona coast of Hawaii, so it's pristine clean, so it's good quality. That's why I buy from that particular company, and they were the first to develop it. And since they first developed it, they have now actually brought out other products using the astaxanthin, but with other things in. And it was first brought out really and recognised as, and this is why I used it, to protect you from sunburn. And I mean, I'm one of these people I'm the one that you notice on the beach under the sun
daughter's the same. She's my daughter. Daughter's the same, and I took it on the run up to our holiday last year. Well, I'd still take it. I've run out. I've got to get some more, but I was taking it. It was I was finding it was for my fitness. It was giving me an extra little boost.
Yeah. Well, you see, as I say, it was sort of kind of recognised as being for sun protection, and that's what I used it for. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I used to just go purple. I used to get so sunburnt. Now I just go brown. And if you take it all the time, it kind of helps to keep that brown there, and you get an even tan. It doesn't do anything. It works in conjunction with the sun and with your skin. So it's not like a false tan. But the other benefits from it are amazing. After taking that, I noticed it helped as well with my back pain. But a lot of people have noticed it's very good for joint pain. They have actually done some preliminary clinical trials for obviously sunburn protection, carpal tunnel syndrome, which is an awful thing to
Never
have.
heard of it. What's that?
It's where you get it's the nerves in the hand here, there you get terrible,
right.
And you can't use your hands properly. I had a friend who was a guitarist, and only for his own benefit, but he loved it. He had several guitars, and through his carpal tunnel syndrome, he could not control it, and all the doctors offered him was more painkillers or have a very painful operation, which may not be successful.
Right.
After using the serapeptase, he was able to continue playing the guitar. So it's very good for carpal tunnel syndrome, but very good for arthritic and joint pain. And it works extremely well with that. And they've done, as I say, trials on that. But it's also very good to protect you from cancer because it's a very powerful antioxidant. In fact, it's 550 times stronger than beta-carotene as an antioxidant.
Wow.
So it's very powerful. But they've now introduced another one in the range called Joint Astin, which has been out now for a couple of years, and we're getting very good results with that. It also contains glucosamine, which, as most of you, your listeners will know, is extremely good for joint pain. But it's one of the very few natural sources of glucosamine available today, so that's quite an interesting product, and we're selling quite a lot of that. They've also brought out other ones like Omega-Astin, which has got the astaxanthin in, but it's also got other components to help with heart problems and to keep your blood healthy. So that's a very good product to take. But it's like you mentioned, Lou, it's the energy levels, because people often say to me, where did you get your energy from? They're like 10 years younger than me, and will say, once you hit 50, Hill, isn't it awful? You can't get up in the morning. I'm aching all over. And I say, don't you feel the same? I said, no, I'm sorry, no, I don't.
No.
I get tired like anybody else when I've overdone it, but I think I do for my age and my history.
Yeah,
I do
definitely.
have a lot of energy, and touch wood, I do keep very healthy. Everybody around me is, suffered from the usual sort of viruses that we get, and touch wood, I haven't succumbed so far.
No.
So
I haven't been ill at all in the last, I've spent almost in the last year, just because the vitamin C, vitamin D, and, it's hard times at the moment, so I can't afford all the products. But I'm still using your,
Endymion, another one you
Endymion,
can't
I know.
pronounce. She's useless, isn't she?
Thanks. Yeah,
Endymion powder,
yeah.
the carnosine. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Are you
Yeah.
still taking that? Because it's such an all-round product.
Yeah.
It really is. I each month I discover more and more about this. It's L-carnosine powder, not to be confused with carnitine, which is a completely different thing. It's carnosine with an S.
Okay.
And it's extremely powerful. It's a very powerful antioxidant, but it's also an extremely good longevity product, because carnosine is something we make naturally in our bodies, and that's responsible for anything to do with anti-aging, like protecting all our vital organs, keeping our hair, nails, eyes, hearing, fit, in that way. But unfortunately, like a lot of things, as we sort of get older, we stop making carnosine. And that's when you start to notice a problem, like the elasticity in your skin starts to go, you start to get things like cataracts, and, generally losing a lot of your body mass, this sort of thing. And carnosine powder is absolutely brilliant for that. It's very good as an anti-aging longevity product. But it's also amazing for wound healing, and a lot of people are using
really?
it.
I didn't know that.
Wonderful for wound healing.
So how would you use it in that respect? Or would
And
you
just
do a little-
take it normally, but obviously you can increase the dose. Now, one of the things with carnosine, which is amazing, which is very unusual, with most health products, if you're advised as a suggestion to take 3 a day, and you find you've got wonderful energy levels, it doesn't mean if you take 6 a day you'll have twice as much energy.
No.
It doesn't work like that. It must probably would just be make expensive urine. But with carnosine, unusually you cannot overdose on it, and you cannot take too much. And for instance, it's also very good for delivery with other products. For example, the company where I actually get it from are doing a lot of research into serious illnesses such as cancer. With marine phytoplankton. It's extremely good quality one. I also sell that. And if taken in conjunction with the carnosine powder helps with the delivery of it. Now that's very important, that if you're taking a product, that it's delivered into your system correctly. And I've actually got a clinical report that the carnosine powder does do that. It also works with our eye drops that we do. It helps to deliver them so that they get completely into the eye properly and doing their job.
Oh. And what was that marine one you said?
Marine phytoplankton, that is
Okay.
an amazing product as well. It's not cheap, but it is exceptional what
And
it does.
what is that used
That's
for?
used for, well, sort of lots of general health.
Okay.
But I've had instances, as I say, with people who it's helped with cancer. It's helped with a woman who her son had the most awful eczema, and she put him on a course of this. And obviously you have to look at diet as well, this sort of thing. Usually it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
But it did. His eczema was horrendous. He was only 3 years old and he was just covered in it. Couldn't
It's funny you
sleep
say
with
that.
it.
My little brother, there was some mishap at the hospital when he was born. My mum had a terrible birth, and he ended up getting eczema from head to toe.
Oh, it's awful.
And he had to be dressed like literally mummified.
Yeah.
Everything wrapped, and he was on steroids for
That's right.
years and everything else. And that was back sort of like 77. And it's a shame that product wasn't around then.
I know, it's like a lot of things, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. So it does help with sort of eczema, as I say, and lots of other things, and they're doing research. But the Endymion powder, carnosine powder, I'm finding so much more about it all the time, and I swear by it. I take it every day.
Yeah, I've been taking it now
Yeah.
since.
It's
well,
very
a
easy
few
to
years
take.
now,
It's
yeah.
completely
And yeah, what is
tasteless,
the
isn't
best
it?
way to take it? You put it in water.
The best way to take it is to put it into a litre jug of filtered water, preferably, or ionised water, or bottled water, whichever, and you about sort of 1 to 2 grams a day if it's just for sort of general health. If you've got any other serious conditions, then obviously you can take up to 10 grams a day.
Yeah.
It wouldn't harm you.
Okay.
So you put it into a large bottle of a large jug or bottle of filtered water, and then just sip it at intervals through the day, as you would normal water. You know, like you have drinks of water during the day. You wouldn't make cups of tea with it, obviously,
No,
but
no.
you know, just drink normally. What this does is, obviously, it's a very easy way of absorbing the carnosine, because unfortunately carnosine doesn't stay in the body absorbed for very long. So consequently, you have to take it at intervals throughout the day, if possible. I know people are working, have busy lives, it's not always possible. So whatever you can do is better than you did the day before.
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
and it's good to take the last thing at night. But also, it monitors how much water you're drinking. We all think we drink enough
We don't,
water.
no.
Oh, I drink gallons of water. I myself am very strict with this, but even I notice sometimes come 4 or 5 o'clock.
And it's got to be good water as
Oh,
well.
I think
mean,
that's important.
we've had,
Yeah.
and the offer's actually still out there for listeners who are looking at getting a water filter system in at osmio.co.uk. You can get a 10% off, but we can talk about that at the end of the show. But no, I completely
I definitely agree
with you.
with Lou there. You must get a good water filter.
Yeah.
It is definitely important, because there's so many. I had a friend,
And that's the thing with the water, Hilary. It evaporates into your skin. I mean, I never forget Clive saying to me, "Don't put on your skin or your hair what you wouldn't put inside you." So if you're not going to eat the shampoo, don't
That's
use
it,
it, because it can
exactly.
all soak in, and that goes for the water as well. I mean, I've got the Osmio system coming. I've got a proper shower head filter, and until it's at the moment I'm drinking distilled water and big bottles of water at the moment.
apart from the fact it actually tastes nicer. But I had a friend who was doing an environmental course, and part of it was he had to do research into our water system and water pipes. And I remember this was years ago, him telling me, "Hilary, never ever drink what comes out of that tap." It's because the pipes are so old, and what they're joined with is chemicals that leach out. It's just, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you couldn't possibly afford to have the water filtered, so you need to filter it yourself.
You do.
You know.
But I mean, with regards to you and your products, they will work better if people are starting to empower themselves and changing the way they're dieting and what they're putting into themselves, and the amount of exercise, would you say?
Definitely. I think the problem is the majority of a lot of people just sort of go to the doctors and expect miracles.
Yeah.
And you do find that, I think, if you take control of your life and take control of your health, I think you feel better anyway, because you're in charge of it. It's like when you go on a diet. I don't like the word diet, by the way. Healthy eating plan is all you should do. Don't diet. But what you do is, if you're sort of taking control of your own body and your life, you do feel better for it. And when you start to feel the benefits, it has a knock-on effect. It's like I often talk to people who are in terrible conditions. They're under so many drugs from the doctors, and there's so many side effects, and they don't know where to turn. And I gradually sort of wean them off and sort of explain to them how they can get healthier. And they say they do feel better, because when you're in pain, or discomfort or any ailment, it's a knock-on effect. You don't eat properly because you don't feel like it. You don't go out for long walks because either you can't or you don't feel like it, and you don't have a very good joie de vivre. You don't feel full of life.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're feeling healthy and vital and you look good, that's important. You look fit and healthy and you
Exactly.
feel good.
Yeah.
Everything else falls into place, and you have a healthier, happier life.
Yeah,
Makes
totally
sense,
agree.
really, doesn't it?
Well, we're nearly out of time. If people are interested in the serapeptase, the andinium, and the
Bioastin, isn't
Bioastin.
it? The astaxanthin.
and the Biastin and the pain machines, how can they get in touch with you? I mean, you've got the website, which is lifelongproducts.com,
Yeah.
and you've got a free phone number, I think.
Yeah,
They
we've
can
got a free
up
phone
and
number.
get
You're more than
advice.
welcome to ring. It's 0800 970 7885.
Brilliant. Fantastic, Hilary. Thank you so much. for
And if
coming
they
in.
ring, I'm really pleased to talk to anybody. No pressure. Just have a chat about what they need. And if there's no reply or it goes onto answering machine, please leave a message with your phone number, even if you're outside the UK, and I will get back to you.
Brilliant.
Promise.
Thanks so much, Hilary.
Well, thank you very much, Lou, for inviting me on
You're
the
very
programme.